I immediately knew that this was something different and special. This Jeep had never been restored. This was a complete time capsule. It sort of existed in some parallel universe. So 1962, CJ5 Universal, as they call it. It's sort of a once-in-a-lifetime find in terms of its condition. In all ways, lack of rust, original paint, low mileage, some kind of rare options, the factory hardtop, PTO setup, an unusual winch setup on the front, dual heater setup. Always kept it inside and never saw sun of any consequence. The paint, the interior, there's nothing faded on it. All the rubber on the Jeep is original. This has all 5 original Baxter caps, trailer caps with a tool on it, still remaining on the Jeep. We did dual heaters, and this setup on the front here is customized with the push bar and the dual spool winch, which is controllable from the front of the Jeep or inside. And the best we can figure is he had a snowblower setup on the front of this Jeep, and that's why he wanted the 2 heaters. And the cable roll was, best we can figure, was to control the chute on the blower for direction, for where it blew. And so obviously you can put a lot of miles on it, 12,230 miles, and it was stickered, as you can see on the windshield. The last time that he put it on the road was 94. And then he also had a rear PTO setup on it, which we believe he probably ran a gang mower or mower in the summertime off the back of it. The other thing the owner did, because I guess he knew he was going to be using it for snow application, was he had the dealer option undercoating installed. So under the hood, under the whole chassis, the fender wells, it's all done with this heavy undercoating. And it's not an afterthought, it was something that was an option back in the day that they could do. The dual heaters probably were also done at the dealer at the same time. And so you can see everything in the engine compartment is as it was original to this owner. Like I said, the radiator, I can say we had the recore, but the carburetor, that is the original carburetor. We just rebuilt it. In the case of the fuel pump, I had an NOS AC fuel pump that we put on it. We put new hoses, obviously, on the heaters and the radiator and all that stuff. But everything else in here is factory untouched. And I mean, down to the data plate, which is still shiny, which we didn't polish. That's how it was when we bought it, which is actually quite amazing. The paint on the engine, the block, the valve cover, it's all original factory paint. Now you gotta see the special winch this guy set up for it. It's a Bendix, Dayton Bendix winch, which I had never even seen before. And obviously he wasn't using it to pull himself out of the woods with it, but like I said, to control his special snowblower setup he had. So, but yeah, those are the upgrade lockout hubs. They offered the Warns and they offered these also, and yeah, the power lock hubs, which were one level above even the Warn winch. I mean the Warn lockout. So original mirror, original arm. Again, for that stuff to survive unbroken or undamaged is highly unusual. The top is a Willys factory option top. There was Koenig and Sears offered enclosures for these Jeeps, and a lot of people ended up with those on it. The factory one, I imagine, was probably a more expensive option than the aftermarket one, so a lot of them didn't get sold. It had a fiberglass shell on top, and then all the remaining is steel panels. And they use components that were existing for other use in other parts of the Jeep line. There's a latch inside for the rear hatch that's utilized off the hood catch. The window setup on it is really cool. There's no crank on it. It's a gravity deal. This is your window lock right here, and then you go up and you push the slider down, and then it's boosted, so it actually goes up very easily. And it's actually a really cool mechanism. Very simple, but very effective. Same thing with the interior, all original. Steering wheel, the clock, the decal, the seats. The one seatbelt had been changed in the 70s. It probably got damaged. It's got a blower duct that was part of this dual heater setup that was up there. But I mean, the wiper motors, the strap on the windshield, the rear view mirror, it's all, you know, as left the factory. The story behind the find was we were on a parts purchase going down to West Virginia from a widow, and she was literally in the back hills of West Virginia, near the Shenandoah National Forest, and actually a part of the country I'd been in as a kid doing rock climbing. Anyway, so we went down with my truck and my trailer to buy a good volume of parts. Most of them ended up being used, but there was some interesting stuff there. But in the process, we were going through the buildings, and she had one big building where at one time there was 20-some Jeeps stored. You know, we were moving stuff around. I saw this Jeep when we first came into this one building, and I actually didn't pay a lot of attention to it. But so as the day went on and we got basically the trailers loaded and everything else, I was like, well, let me just go look at this Jeep. There was a little bit of corrosion where the braces are at the back, so somebody did a very crude repair back here, which we tend to at least get some paint back on before it gets sold. The Town and Country, I first looked at that tag and thought it was like a used car lot, little plastic stick-on. The reality is that was the authorized Jeep dealer in Harrisonburg, Virginia, that the original owner bought it from in 1962. So the taillights have been changed to aftermarket ones. I have now since put back on the correct taillights. This one has the spacer behind it. This one on this side actually is an NOS one I bought on eBay. And but even the reproduction one, I have the original Stimsonite lens put back on it. So, and then this hitch back here, which isn't the standard drawbar hitch you would find on the Jeep, was also a custom piece that the owner did at the same time as the front custom work for a setup, like I say, which I believe was probably for a gang mower. You had drag points back here in the PTO shaft that one probably, I guess, they do a mower. But the stencils, the chain covers, I mean, it's all completely original. But, I mean, there again, there's barely scratches, there's no dents. The floor is as straight as the day is long. And there's a little release up inside here, which is the mechanism that was stolen off the front of the windshield for the CJ5 and M38-1. It's spring loaded, and you release it, and then the door slides out of the pocket and drops in and locks. And it's kind of a unique method for using for a rear door. It's actually kind of cool though, because it does get it out of the way at the same time. And you can drive with it and slid in like that too, whereas the other design you wouldn't do that, it would be too vulnerable. The original spare tire. You don't see Jeeps with original tires for one, which in this case all five are original, but this one literally still has the tips on it. And there again, there's no cracks or checks, there's no degradation of the rubber. It's quite amazing. This was a tire that I guess was specifically used on the early CJ5s. They called it a Suburban, and obviously it was a mud and snow tire. Put fresh oil in it, checked all the levels and the differentials. In the case of the front differential, it was leaking the inner seal, so we ripped the whole front axle apart and put in new inner seals and freshened all the grease and stuff and put all that back together, repacked the wheel bearings, and then obviously the brakes. You know, the shoes were all good, amazingly. They were not worn that much at all. New cylinders and master cylinder, and let all that out. And then the balance of it was pretty much cleaning it up, just from having sat as long as it did in the barn, and I don't think it had been driven in quite a few years.